the sun burns gold. In a world where great risks can bring extraordinary rewards.
In a world where owning a radio was strictly forbidden.
In a world without gas.
In a world that's powered by violence.
In a world.
Yes, in a world. So I know a lot of you have heard that famous narrator of In a World, but part of what we're thinking about today, and welcome some of our new people, is what do we want that in a world to say? Is what is that in a world where, and we know what it's like today, but where can we take it and what kind of imagination and world building can we use to create it? So part of what we're going to use to create it are communities and community building, and that's what we're talking about now, which is part of our helpers if you've been following our hero's journey. So to talk about Supercharge communities, we are going to welcome to the stage Rob Perry, who is the CEO of Zomad, Owen Williams, the founder of Harpoon Media, Maudi Ayunda, I think still on the way, Kamau Bell, comedian and television host, and our moderator from the Impact Lounge, Cassie Bradley.
Brilliant, come on up, guys. Woo! Fantastic, yeah, anywhere you like. Amazing. Oh, I'm so honored to be sat here with this incredible panel. If you would like to briefly introduce yourselves and your work, just for anyone in the audience that isn't familiar with you.
I guess I'll start. Looks like it's live. My name is Owen Williams. I'm one of the co-founders of Harpoon Media. We've done over 50 movie influencer campaigns to date. We focus mainly on feature film, but we're starting to do more impact documentaries. But yeah, just trying to leverage that intense micro-influencer fan community to get people into the movie theater. That's sort of what we do.
Hi, this is live. Yeah, you can hear me. I'm Rob Perry. I'm the founder and CEO of Zomad. I believe, I've said at conferences around the world, and nobody's ever corrected me. I think we're the oldest influencer company in the world. I founded it back in 2010. To truly date us, BlackBerry, if any of you remember that, was our launch client. But then we've done a lot in the private sector brand space since then. Currently, we do a lot of work in the NGO, the large NGO. The Gates Foundation is a client, the large NGO, and a lot of work for state governments around the country, activating very large communities of influencers.
I'm W. Kamau Bell. I believe I'm the oldest influencer in the world. I've said it. Stand-up comedian, documentary filmmaker, known for United Shades of America on CNN for 7 seasons. Didn't mean all that. And you were on it? Oh, that's right. I know him. Yeah. Actually, that was part of the Impact filmmaking. Rasan Thomas, who's a San Quentin prison when I met him in the United Shades, is now here making films.
Woo.
That's enough.
That was our first heckle of the day. Thank you very much.
All right. Hi, I'm Maudi Ayunda. I'm from Indonesia. I'm an actress and singer-songwriter. I am also, I guess, an influencer. And I'm also a brand owner, so I work with influencers. And yeah, excited to be here today.
Fantastic. So let's get stuck straight in. In a word, what does impact mean to you?
One word that's tough. I'll go with emotion.
Disruption.
Difference.
Resonance.
Ooh, nice. And for everyone in the audience, I'd love for you to think about what impact means to you. And after this panel, just turn to the person next to you and share it, because that's what we're all about here. So we're really seeing this evolution from a broad, wide-scale influencing to a model of micro-influencers with this deep community engagement. And so from your experiences, what key shifts in audience behavior or platform dynamics have made this possible and have made community activation the new powerhouse for impact media?
I guess I can start. I feel like this has always sort of been a thing, but I think it's been more broadly recognized as a very impactful way to market. I think if you look at, we're pretty quantitative in how we look at our campaigns, but if you look at the data, micro influencers or people with like just smaller engaged followings, their community just interacts with them at a much higher rate than like very, very large following or very large brands, because they just are following them for their very specific niche content. And so I think that helps get activation if you do that at a broad scale. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that in part too, in a kind of a backwards kind of way. When you ask why does it work, in part it's because what used to work doesn't work anymore. So I mean, media strategies are constantly changing. 20, 30 years ago, it was all TV, print, and radio. And then digital became the hot thing in the mid-2000s. But digital doesn't work today like it did even 4 years ago. All of you are getting the choice to opt out when you visit a website. You didn't have that choice 4 years ago. And overwhelmingly, people are opting out so that they can't track you as well. So in the meantime, the influencer world has exploded. All the giant holding companies are all looking at the influencer space, because what they traditionally have been doing in the past doesn't work today like it used to. And people are just living on social media, right? So particularly for the under 40 or under 45 crowd, it's the primary way to reach them. And at the same time, ad blockers and data privacy restrictions are making digital not as effective.
I mean, I think we live in a time where a lot of the people who were approached by brands to influence things were people who just started making content on their own because they wanted to make content. So they have a deeper level of trust with their audience. They get to focus on the things they want to focus on, and that means that then the people who want to invest in them have to meet them where they're at. So I think the most powerful thing that we have right now is that like people just in their kitchen creating their own formats, their own ways in which they want to cover material, then that we never even thought of, or was like, oh, is that a thing I'd want to do or I'd want to watch? That you go, I don't know what this is, but I'm watching it every day it comes out. That connection means that they have a much more powerful connection to their audience.
Yeah. I'll maybe speak from kind of like an influencer perspective myself. I do believe that with scale, intimacy erodes, not always, but mostly that's what I felt. And intimacy is what builds trust at the end of the day. And also, people on social media are really smart at this point. Like, we're used to seeing influencers sell things to you. It's become very, very commercialized. So as a consumer myself, like, I know immediately when I'm being sold within the first 2 to 3 seconds. And so I think the power of these like micro communities and these like deeper communities is that, one, you have higher specificity and people are more trusting when you are specific and you have like a niche and you have like a depth from your content, and it's the fact that it's intimate and small that is so convincing and powerful. And then you also maybe feel less of a commercial element, I feel like, in these communities, because the intensity of the back and forth usually is better. The influencer shows up and can maybe respond to your comments, and there's just a lot more trust that's being built outside from the selling moments. And that really helps, I think, build conviction. And you're as a part of that community, you're much more open to the 1 or 2 times that they sell you on something, because you've built consistency and specificity all throughout.
Yeah, and the idea of authenticity and vulnerability, is something I think we now prize above all things. And so, how important do you think kind of vulnerability and storytelling is to developing that kind of trust within micro communities?
I think it's critical, especially since kind of like what you were saying, that people can choose now more than ever what media they consume. And there's so much out there that people just don't really, I think, tolerate as much stuff that doesn't feel real. And so I think when we design movie campaigns, we're always trying to think of like, how do we make this feel real, and how do we make it real, and so that the audience can actually engage and just be moved emotionally. So
if the question is about kind of tactics, and so to me, the number one tactic, and guys, I'm admittedly drunk off my own Kool-Aid, But what I believe is that the number one learning in the influencer space over the last 4 or 5 years has been we were never getting the scale high enough early on. It was never enough influencers. So what we see across the board is whenever we can activate enough influencers that we're reaching the target consumer with at least 4 different people who he or she trusts and follows. So somewhere between 4 and 7 is the sweet spot, and that's when you see change. So before we were just launching a couple of macros, and you weren't getting that scale. So it's about getting enough influencers that the typical consumer is going to see content from multiple people who they trust and follow. So it's all about architecting these very large campaigns. So the scale has gone way up. So we're busy kind of educating all of our clients across the private sector, the public sector, government, politics, all about the critical importance of getting that really high scale, and then you're getting a diversity of the storytelling.
And when would you say, was there a key moment, was there a key cultural shift where we kind of went from this idea of kind of scale to kind of depth, do you think? Can you identify a point in time?
Well, I think it's just looking at certain case studies where, I've got certain within my companies, right, that where all of a sudden things just took off. Because, early on, influencer marketing was it was about the Kims and Kylies and Kendalls. So it was kind of the add-on. If you're going to devise a marketing strategy, whether you're Unilever or Dove, or whether you're a small brand or you're a film, you were thinking kind of digital first, and you would add on a couple influencers. But along the way, and particularly, I'd say one of the critical moments, like I said in the opening question, was when we started to see the efficacy drop of general digital buys. So digital buys on Facebook, Instagram, the efficacy started going way down. And so it put more money, more budget into activating larger numbers of influencers, and then across the board, the people that are spending that money are seeing ROI. So I think that's been kind of the defining moment, if it makes sense.
Owen and Rob, you've worked at this kind of cultural intersection of brands and creators for a long time. And what metrics are you using to measure impact?
We measure impact in terms of, it's kind of like a tier to start with, view count is like a very general metric, but we try and look as deep as possible. So we also look at engagement metrics like likes, comments, bookmarks, engagement rate, and then we also scrape in the comments. There's a lot of tools now with you can use AI to analyze thousands of comments to kind of get sentiment, because there's not just what are people engaging at a high enough rate, but there's also what are they actually saying? Are they indicating that they're interested? Are they saying that they're going to go see it in the theater? And so we try and pull that on a live basis and share that. And a good campaign will have high engagement rate, positive sentiment, high view count as well. But that's sort of how we think about it.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is true. Those are, you call those vanity metrics, kind of, though, right? Is that right, Owen?
I mean, the main metric we want is box office.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say.
But the campaign, when it's live, you only have these indicators. But
yeah, I mean, look, the best metric is whatever is achieving the business result that you want. So if it's a film, then it's putting people in the seats. And so, look, the challenge is always attribution, because if somebody's spending money, whether they're marketing a film or a product, or it's a government trying to reach people, they're doing multiple media strategies. So it's always hard to kind of zero out the impact of everything else to figure out what your impact is. But there are examples. I mean, I've got certain case studies where we had 100% of the budget. So it was really easy. Attribution was not a challenge there. So but ultimately, when we're meeting with clients, we try to advise, well, what result do you want? And then we try best we can to architect the campaign so they're going to see that end business result.
Amazing. So from these architects to creator architects, I'm really interested in how you measure impact, and also how you cultivate that authenticity and vulnerability to really kind of create this affinity economy, as Sandy was talking about earlier. How do you do that?
Okay, I guess one of my main platforms is Instagram. And so on like a post level, one of the things that I'm personally intrigued with and I look into more now is shares. Because I think that that's a good signal of something that resonates, and not just resonates, but becomes relevant to both the viewer and relevant enough to then continue on that conversation with friends or family or whoever they are sharing the content too. So that's personally one that I really look at nowadays. And then to answer your kind of secondary question on how to cultivate authenticity, you know, from an influencer's point of view, creator's point of view, there used to be a time where I felt like I had to optimize on volume of content because the way that the algorithm worked and the way that things are is that you almost have to like keep up and catch up with the engagement and the momentum of the content such that you keep getting good engagement. But I think the algorithm now also has shifted such that the best or the most relevant, resonant content will do really well, and those that don't will not. And it's not really about the individual level momentum or volume of content. And so that actually helps me maintain consistency and authenticity, because now, you know, when it comes to content, I prioritize just alignment and like I want my audience to feel like when they're consuming my content that it's intentional and there's clarity there. So I think clarity is the word maybe. So it's clarity is more important than volume of content now. And I think it's important that audiences can see your name or see your content across their screen and feel like, oh yeah, that makes sense, that aligns, and you're top of mind for some values in their mind. So yeah.
Kamal?
I want to be clear. I know what all these words mean, like optimization and things. I am a Celebrity Jeopardy champion, but
Woo!
but I don't think about these things when I'm posting, which maybe you'll look at my Instagram and be like, oh, I can see you don't. So I think I just want to make space for the people who are like, I want to be heard. I want to connect to the community. And one of the things that is most key to me in whatever I post, and my main, I'm on Instagram, but Substack has become a place for me that has really been, Nazis or not, Substack works for me. I don't know if you know, America's got Nazis too. But like, so for me, like it's about like, I am trying to figure out how to expand and experiment with my voice. There will be some experiments that fail. The audience will let me know, but sometimes the audience says it failed, and I'm like, I just think I can keep working on it. And I'm trying to really be clear that the algorithm is not my boss. Now I can learn from the algorithm and go, when I made that video, it was under a minute and it did well. I will try to do that again, but I also think it's important for your audience, just as a whole, to see that you're not, that for me, that I'm not trying to crack the code of their engagement. What I'm trying to do is figure out what's the best way for you to deliver this. On Substack, I tend to write long form pieces that are over 2,000 words. And I've had somebody say, you need to cut these down because these are too long. And I responded to them, absolutely the fuck not.
Woo!
Yeah, because I think that there's a thing about, if I'm going to be totally controlled by the audience or by the algorithm, then I'm not actually going to be the person I want to be. So for me, the number one thing that I prize is transparency with the audience. The guy that is sitting here writing this, I want you to feel like that's the person on the other side. We may disagree. There may be things that go well and things that go badly, but we're in this for the long haul together. Right now, I think my favorite comedian, unheralded, is not getting enough credit, is Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson, at a time when give him applause.
Woo!
At a time when every comedian was trying to make the shortest, most viral crowd work clips possible, Josh Johnson said, I'm going to put out an hour of material about something that just happened last week. And on top of that, he's very transparent. He will put up a thing with his tour dates and say, I need you to click like on this and write comments so it will spread. And the audience goes, we will do that. And you see people writing, I am putting a comment here so the algorithm will. And so for me, I look at that and go, that's what they appreciate about him. He's being transparent, and he's not doing what the algorithm says. And yet, in the last year, he's become one of the hottest comedians in the country.
And looking forward then, where do we think this creator evolution is taking us? You know, we've gone from broad scale influencing to these engaged micro communities to fill the blank.
I think it's just going to become like more of a mainstream activity, and there'll be like broader brand acceptance of like these sorts of activations and strategies. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this like thing I saw on the internet where the Dr. Pepper people bought a jingle from an influencer for $2 million. Did you guys see that? So there's stuff like that where brands are just really sinking their teeth into stuff in a big way, and I think that's just going to accelerate, so.
Yeah, no, I have a very strong opinion on this. It's going to go a lot deeper and a lot broader. So again, it started with the Kims, Kylies, and Kendalls, and the future is about activating hundreds, thousands of smaller influencers per campaign. I mean, you're asking about micro, but nano is hot. Nano means you have under 10,000 followers. And so a lot of these campaigns we're architecting now will have hundreds of nano influencers. So it's very close to UGC. And about getting enough, again, high enough, in enough volume, enough numbers, that you're creating that really high frequency. So you're hitting the target consumer with content from multiple people who they trust and follow. So the budgets are just getting there, but I think you're going to see it go a lot deeper. But like these people are still critical. I mean, you've got 30 million followers or something?
That's a lot.
20 million. Okay, you got 20 million. 20 million.
Only 20 million.
Only 20.
438,000.
But I mean, they're the generals, right? So they're the nanos and micros will look to them for direction. So the campaigns will combine the big, huge influencers like them along with the smaller ones. So you're going to see a lot of that going forward.
And from a creative perspective, what are you excited about?
I'm excited about finding platforms that create intimacy for my audience because, again, Instagram isn't one of those for me anymore. It feels a little, I guess, just a little bit more distant in nature. But my YouTube videos and my vlogs, and I have some smaller kind of community channels as well that I find myself also being attracted or being drawn to more and more, and we also really missing kind of creating intimacy and more just kind of authentic, real moments with my audience. So I think that's what I'm going to keep going and keep doing.
Amazing.
For me, the fact is that, and sort of saying what I said earlier, the algorithm can't predict people who are going to be sort of surrounded by the masses or surrounded by people who care. The algorithm couldn't have predicted Miss Rachel. The algorithm couldn't have predicted Michael Threets, America's favorite librarian. The algorithm can't predict all these people. Josh Johnson, who's like, I'm going that way while you go this way. So I think for that reason, if you're somebody who's out there creating things, do the thing you want to do. Right. Be a student of what you're doing. Be a good critic of what you're doing. But do the thing you want to do. And if it is worth a damn and you're worth a damn, things will happen. They may not happen. We can't all end up being Kyle and Kim's and as much as every night I go to bed. But as you say, there's room for all of us out here. But I think transparency and authenticity is the number one job.
Amazing. Well, that is the perfect note to end on. I could chat to you all day. But I think transparency, authenticity, we have our own micro community here. So get to know each other and be change makers together. But thank you so much. Give it up for our amazing panel. Woo!
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We've got a couple more panels, which are hopefully going to be really interesting to you.